Let me take you through news coming in from the United States that's really disturbed the student community, largely Indians wanting to study in the United States. This year could be real trouble. The US State Department has halted scheduling new student visa interviews worldwide, citing national security concerns and campus unrest. Even though the scheduled interviews will proceed as planned, in fact, right now this is the interview season. We hear it's currently been paused because there's going to be excessive vetting of their social media profiles, and that's going to make the entire situation terribly slow. In fact, the move was directed by none other than Secretary of State Mark Rubio, who issued this notification itself. He said, and I quote, "Effective immediately in preparation for an expansion of required social media screening and vetting, consular sections should not add any additional student or exchange visitor FMNJ visa appointments capacity until further guidance is issued." Well, that's a direct notice there to halt all further visa interviews of students globally. Earlier in March this year, Mark Rubio has referred to foreign students who he claimed were coming to the US not to study but to engage in protests. So this is exactly what they want to filter, is what the Trump administration claims. Now, this comes at the back of another controversy involving Howard University. Just days ago, the DHS attempted to stop the prestigious school from enrolling international students and asked for a list of all foreign students at the university, claiming their home countries contribute nothing towards education in the United States, and more importantly, those indulging in any protests, their background, their history, all of it should be given to the US administration. And it appears Howard had failed to do so, and therefore they've fallen out of favor from the US government now. There are more than 1.1 million international students who've enrolled across United States colleges and universities just during the last year, 2023 to 24 intervening academic year. According to a report by the National Association of Foreign Student Advisor, foreign students pump nearly $43.8 billion US dollars annually into the United States economy and support over 378,000 jobs in the country. And Indian students top the list. We've even overtaken China. Nearly 331,000 Indian students are currently studying in the United States as of 2024 data. This directive is expected to have a profound impact on Indian students who form the largest international student community in the United States and could also derail thousands of academic journeys. What's the future now for these students? Let me take you through a quick look. According to official data from 2024, out of 892,000 odd Indian students abroad, 331,000 itself in the United States alone. So that's a large chunk of Indian students internationally who are concentrated in the United States. India and Indians, the largest international community, like I did mention. This figure represents 29.4% of the total 1.12 lakh international students in the United States. The Indian students alone contribute nearly $8 billion in 2019 to the US economy. So what happens to the thousands of students aiming to join US universities this semester of 2025? US is certainly the top destination, so this is going to be really hurting bad. Consular offices will now examine posts. They're going to check your likes, check your comments, all the shares that you've put out on your social media platforms, all including Instagram, TikTok, X predominantly, to identify the content that you've been putting out, the kind of content and narrative that you support. Well, questions on really what really happens to the freedom of speech that the world's largest democracy always advocated. United States really going against its basic tenets. Let me take you through a little more in detail with our panelists joining on board. Sudhanshu Kaushik, Executive Editor, North American Association of Indian Students. Also joining us, Rohit Bhatt, lawyer of Supreme Court of India, and also an alumna of Howard University. Thank you for joining us. We also have Aritra Ghoshal, founder and director, One Step Global, and Surinder Singh Lali, advisor to HRD, Government of India and Foreign Affairs expert, United States and Canada. Let me bring in someone from the administration itself who really understands the layout. Surinder Singh Lali, your take on what's happened here It's a big shock for international students, Indians specifically, if I could speak for them. We're looking at the largest US student community who are Indians at this point left in limbo. What really happens to their future? What does this really mean? Where did the freedom of speech advocacy go really from the United States?
Thank you, Nabila. It's such a pleasure and honor for me to be here, but I'm a bit scared. I mean, you said social media vetting. Am I like in court? Whatever I say here would be held against me the next day when I land on any airport in America. I mean, so much so for the freedom of speech and freedom of expression. So I don't know, but I'm still going to stick my neck out and share. Nabila, uh, this gentleman is an extremely intriguing enigma. I mean, I'm going to practice all sorts of political correctness for obvious reasons. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I remember I used to see this commercial back in the US about Levi's jeans, and they put those jeans on World Trade Center and said the gene that built America. So I don't know if Donald Trump is totally catering to the Rust Belt states, and taking it back to the New Jersey kind of what Bruce Springsteen sang in his songs, the blue collar worker, or does he understand that America and American hegemony is extremely powerful on basis of the softwares? I mean, a lot of their, out of the top 10 countries in the world, I think 7 are companies which are technology based and were found in a garage, and most of them were, either aided, abetted, or in some manner influenced by Indians. So I don't know. I mean, I'll start with we, the Indians at home. Our startups exceed over 195 billion USD.
Yeah.
72 unicorns out of the 648 are led by us Indians. 35 of the 50 top US colleges have Indians in the leadership position. We contribute over $1.5 billion in charity. So I don't know if he has a personal axe to grind because his son didn't get into it. I'm going to get back to all of this in the later part of the debate. Or is this really trying to curtail free speech, or is this a personal agenda? But obviously, I hope this is not like a case of throw the baby out with the bathwater, because it beats my intelligence on what could be the possible gain for a country which is absolutely gaining intellectual property and intellectual rights, Nabila.
I really fear for the students' future, considering that the parents in India really spend a lot. It's really their possibly their entire lives' earnings into their child's future, putting in that kind of money, sending them to the United States, only to find out that they're now no more going to be continuing their education from the desired university that they went to. And Harvard is expensive. It's mighty expensive. If I can bring in the alumna of Harvard who joins us, Rubin Bhatt. Thanks very much for taking your time, Rubin. A quick word on Harvard clashing with the Trump regime. Trump asking for students' data, their background, social media vetting, unlike the United States that we've known all along.
Well, yes and no. I think the attack on this university started with alleged anti-Semitism that was going on when students were protesting against Israel's genocide in Gaza. And what has now turned into multiple attacks on the president trying to curtail academic freedom by monitoring the academic curriculum that is taught, to having freezes in funding from both NIH and CDC. They've disqualified Harvard from future federal grants, so on and so forth. But what this means for a truly liberal arts education, I think, is that it is a worrying trend. We are seeing executive fiat being used as an absolute attack against freedom of speech and expression of students, more so when social media today is becoming perhaps the primary mode of communication in the country and across the world.
Okay. Sudhanshu, you're currently in the United States. What's the real feedback? You've been part of an association advocating for students' rights in the US. What's been large feedback coming in from the student community in the United States? I'm not too sure if I can say if US is still the most desirable destination for Indians to study. I'd certainly say no with the current progress. But what's the pulse you catch on the ground?
Nabila, it's apprehension. It's a level of fear that I don't think we've seen, whether it was the first administration in 2016, whether it was the student ban that happened in 2020, whether it was the COVID inflicted student ban that happened as well. Um, there are so many apprehensions when it comes to international students, more specifically Indian students, because we're unsure what happens next. Every single day is a new administrative order, a new executive order. Every single day is a new little caveat to the rules, and every single day is the Trump administration trying to find some loophole to make the lives of international students lives that already were hard, that were already difficult, that already had so many loopholes, whether it was the Biden administration, whether it was Obama's administration, even more difficult. And so right now, you're truly facing where students are thinking, is it worth it? Is it worth it to risk my life? Is it worth it to risk a student loan debt that I will never be able to pay off? Is it risk it to be unemployed for the rest of my life? And is it risk it to be able to even not even be able to get a degree in some cases? Imagine, Nabila, some people have had to self-deport after working on a PhD degree for 5 years. You can't just transfer out and get those credits back. It's gone. And so the apprehensions are so much so, and there's a state of confusion. Um, I don't know if it's chaos yet, but there's definitely confusion. And I think with the student interview slots being kind of paused on hold, I think it'll go into chaos. But what do you do? Right? You just don't know what comes next because you thought what could have happened, the worst of the worst could have happened, that you thought it has already happened. No, you now can pause student interviews and with no kind of guideline to when it'll come back on.
Well, you have thankfully the courts that have been firefighting a lot of the rulings that have been arbitrary in nature. Has that deterred the Trump administration one bit?
Obviously not, because they keep coming back with these weird, junky administrative executive orders and trying to just test the courts as much as possible. You're right that there has been pushback. So exactly what Harvard's losing its nonprofit status, Harvard's ability to accept international students, the court has pushed back. It's allowed at least a pause, a moratorium of sorts, to be able to go as it works through the court. But you just don't know. I mean, and in the same way, Nabila, like a lot of executive orders that have come out have actually gone through the courts, and Trump has had their way on some of them. So you just don't know which one will go through and which one won't, right? And
Right.
as you know, the makeup of the topmost body of the court is pro-Trump in ways. So I think that yes, there's respite, but you just don't know for how long.
Aritra Ghoshal could probably give us a little more about the sense that prevails in the United States now against immigrant students. Now, Indian community comprises the largest student population in the US. One clear question, is it advisable for Indians to want to study in the US at this point? Even if they do get through, it seems like the future is uncertain with the current happenings.
I think it's not. Let's not press the panic button right now. Only but as a ex-international student who has studied, I've studied in the UK though. But the problem is, I concur with what he was saying, that it's a state of confusion, and this confusion is just becoming prevalent every day because we are talking about young adults and their families who have spent a lot of, or who are financing a lot of money here. But still, I will say that let's not press the button, the panic button right now. What um, aspiring students should do is that they should start doing, the social media hygiene that this particularly they're talking about. See, let's be realistic. If you want to go, you have to kind of fall in a place which is actually there is a curtail of or freedom of speech. The second thing is that uh, any student who is trying to go to US may or may not start thinking about a plan B. There are other destinations across the world, so maybe look into certain plan B and options and have those plan B options. The third thing that you can do is that keep calm and just see it out for another 7, 10 days before they actually come out with the prerogative or the ruling and whatever it is. They have just stalled it. They have not said that what else is going to happen right now. So they have stalled it. So what I will say is, let's not
Stalling is
push
more
the
than
panic
enough to
button.
leave a whole bunch
I
of
know,
them
you know,
anxious. It's
I
a
know
whole
it is
year
very,
gone, and time
no,
is of
it's
essence at this point.
no,
It's a whole year
you
gone
know,
if this 2
absolutely
months
no.
it's done now or it's not.
No, it's not that, that simple. It's going to not be that simple because there are thousands of students and universities. Let's talk about the universities, what they are going to do. They're going to start, hopefully they do these things, hybrid classes, uh, pushed out dates, so that these guys can have the time to go in and start their intake. And because fall intake is the biggest intake for US. So universities also need to kind of pivot a little bit because see, the thing is that you just can't debate a very, obnoxious rulings. And I'm also
But
a
fortunately
little
we are
careful here.
debating. Fortunately, we
Yeah.
are debating that there's no debate happening in the Trump administration. Had they
No,
had
I'm
they
pretty sure
debated
they're
the fallout of this, I would assume this ruling wouldn't have come in place. So at least we are
no,
debating
this is,
the actual
yeah,
repercussions. Okay,
yeah.
a
They're
quick word
convinced,
before I come to Sudhanshu. Sir, hold on. Let me go over to Surinder Singh Lali. Sir, I'd like to ask you, United States is not going to think for Indian students. What's the Indian government, in your view, doing? Is there any intervention, any help, or a way to reach out to these aggrieved students who are right now stuck in the middle? Like, if they're studying in Harvard, they've now got to shift or change universities. Is that what they've got to do? What really has happened there?
Nabila, there are colleges in America which are even older than some of the religions across the world. So I'm not too sure if overnight we can create such institutions which can replace. 56% of the students that come to America come for STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And this is purely a figment of my imagination. Donald Trump wants to make America again, and he probably feels that these are fields in which he wants Americans to do that. I mean, there is also another theory that people who study and get to learn about the intellectual property right and go back to China and countries like Iran and help them develop technologies which they have learned at the cost of America, and they create that intellectual property in back in their countries. So I don't know what was on his mind, but yes, what the Indian government at best can do is, just create the systems for them to be accommodated, but you can't do that overnight because, as I said, education itself gets America over $50 billion a year.
Yeah.
And, that's a lot of money. And this infrastructure can't be
Well,
created overnight. I mean, the land cost, even if you see the land cost in India, where we're losing out to China, even if to set up an institution, there is so much political influencing in it. So it's not that easy to set up an institute in India and the prices that we pay. I mean, any big college that you go to America, if you look at the buildings, they're over a couple of 100 years old, if not older than that. So I think it'll be a mammoth task for the Indian government too.
Yeah. Sudhanshu, do give us a sense on vetting of social media platforms. What really happens to all the freedom of speech advocacy that has emerged predominantly from the United States, the world's largest democracy, where people are free to choose their the way of life, what they say, what they think. That US really set an example for the world. Where are you heading?
Yeah, and before I answer, US setting an example, I just want to go back to one point. Arithra said, let's not panic here, which I understand the sentiment. And actually, a lot of the colleagues that I've been speaking to that are involved in the US higher education system as an industry, they're also, very optimistic that, nothing will happen, etc. I see what you're saying. I don't agree with it one bit. And it's not that I'm trying to evoke panic. I'm trying to be realistic. That the system was broken, that the people who benefited off of the US higher education system were the universities and higher education folks who, started their startups or had these consultancies. Students benefited partially, but also came into so much debt because they didn't pick the right colleges, they didn't have the right financials in order. But most importantly, right now, the situation is getting far out of control and the system in itself is about to break. I mean, this is not me, Nabila. The Trump
So what
appointee
are
right now,
options?
the
What are
nominee,
options? A quick word, Sudhanshu, what are options then?
So that's the thing. What options are left? Because Trump basically appointed or is trying to appoint a nominee to the Department of Homeland Services SEVP department, right? This guy goes under oath in front of Congress and says, "I want to get rid of the OPT department." How are you not supposed to not create panic there when 2 years of free basically employment that you would get, I mean employment that you would be allowed to work in to pay off your loans, they're trying to get rid of for STEM graduates.
All right.
How are you supposed to even do that? In
Yeah.
terms of, in terms of what you were saying is like, what are the options? Of course, one is look to other countries, right? Think about whether it's Germany, think about whether it's the UK, Australia, but it's really hard to keep up with the innovation that happens in the United States and the opportunities that do.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say, Nabila, is think inwards. We just had a policy change where Indians are now, universities across the world are allowed to set up campuses within India. So we should be allowing these students and people to actually make sure that they stay within India. They're able to pay the tuition and they're able to get a world-class degree because now that's going to be possible here. Not to say that it wasn't before, but you're going to have more opportunities. So why not think inwards?
Right. Rohin, a final word as now we're close to wrapping up. You're a lawyer yourself, you're in India. What are the legal rights these students have? I know this is in the United States, but anything that they can do, those who are midway into visa interviews, it's now been stopped. So any recourse for them?
Well, look, I'm not qualified to give advice on United States law, so I would sort of be recalcitrant to do that. But I think it always helps to sort of err on the side of caution here, to delete, perhaps lock, if not delete your social media account, depending on how much control the government has over your social media platform and how much access does it have to it. We know probably sites like Twitter might grant access to government, which might potentially not be legal. Be that as it may, I think it always helps to sort of delete your account and err on the side of caution by staying shut for a while in the larger interest of things.
Heard you loud and clear. Thanks very much. Lali, a quick word, sir.
A quick word, setting up universities. My elder daughter went to the University of Marangoni in the Mumbai campus. So, they have a lavish campus all across the world. So when I went to the Mumbai campus in Worli, Nabila, it was only on 2 floors. So I went and spoke to the dean. I said, that's barely a campus. You just have 2 floors above a Jaguar dealership. They said the Mumbai prices are so high, we can't afford it. I rest my case on that.
Okay. Aritra, I'll have you have the last word here as I close.
I think, in the United States, as we are speaking, the world's largest higher education conference is going on in NAFSA, is actually in San Diego right now, is happening. And I hope that the sector overall, because student is one part of this sector, the universities, as you said, consultancies and startups, they're also helping students eventually, to achieve their dreams. So I think we all need to come together. And if we have to get panicked at what Donald Trump has said in the last 100 days, then the world is, and it's a beautiful world then, it's like if you have to believe in whatever he is saying. So I think we have to take it with a certain amount of pinch of grain here. And again, I'm saying that for the students and being an ex-international student, let's not just start panicking completely and lose your sleep. Just let's wait out for another week or so.
Okay. Thank you very much. Terribly short of time. Appreciate all of you joining in with your views.